Hi, this is Robin Ellermeyer. This is pretty much a follow-up video to the deck profile that I posted, I think a couple days ago now. Um, I just mentioned in the description, I misspoke on a couple points and also just, trying to keep it short for a deck profile isn't exactly great for going into depth with things like playing around hand traps. Um, and so I just put together some replays to better showcase how all that works with the lines I was going for, as well as a couple replays showing why I'm not a fan of the branded engine. That said, I'm not like an expert on this deck. I can't say that I've like tested every single build extensively. For example, I've personally never even touched the Nindir Servant package, and I think that's something that I might experiment with, not because I necessarily think it's good, but just because I think it's a neat option for a different format potentially. But anyways, getting into it now. So this is the first replay. Every single voiceless replay is gonna show this line, but it's just the one card combo, and just in case someone hasn't seen it um, and is curious. So if it's just the one card combo, your search off Skull Guardian is not going to be great, because if you grab Dragon Sage, you don't have um, a second spell engrave to summon it. So here I just grab Saphira for the follow up. But if you decide to go for the Dynamondo line, and the one card combo is really the only situation where I think the Dynamondo line makes any sense, then I think you grab the Ceravis for targeting protection. Um, but let's see, yep, so here I pulled Dynamondo to talk about it a bit. So the cards you're playing into, yep, Bells, Bestials, DD Crow, and Impermer Mourner if you didn't search Ceravis here, which is why I recommend that. Because when you summon the Skull Guardian back, then trigger the low, there is a period of time where your Skull Guardian is targetable. And you're also getting follow-up off of the Dynamondo line because you're placing Radiance, so you don't really need to grab the Saphira anyways. Um, I think, like game one, the Dynamondo is pretty fair to go for. Bells, Bestials, DD Crows, you all don't have to expect in the main, and the Impermer Mourner, you can play around by grabbing Ceravis. So I say that Dynamondo is a trap, but with the one card combo specifically, game one, it's totally fine to go for, I think. All right, on to replay number 2. So I say in the deck profile that low plus ritual fodder is a significantly better combo than low by itself, but that's not true. I misspoke. Low plus a ritual monster or a ritual spell is a lot better than low by itself. And here's why. So you get to place Radiance instead of Barrier, because I don't. The first effect of Radiance is really, really good for playing around disruptions. So this can be a special summon from deck, which is what you're usually going to use it for, but it's also a search, just like Barrier is, just with a cost. So while you're giving up a card in hand, this lets you get the trap active earlier. And here I used Skull Guardian, not for any particular reason, but just it's nice to note if your random ritual card here is a Ceravis, then you normal summon the low. If it gets impermed or veilered, you get to discard the Ceravis, and then you're back to the low one card combo line. And that's just, nice to mention. But here we go. Radiance effect, put back the spare guy, grab the Saphira here. Now, if Droll, then you can summon Ceravis from deck, link off into, preferably this would be a link rebo, but I didn't have it, and I'm just using my deck profile from, or deck from the regional here, so it would just be a useless anima just to get that engrave. So that on the next turn, when you summon your Skull Guardian, your low has targeting protection, and your Skull Guardian do. So yeah, that's basically it. If you have the ritual in hand, then you get to grab the Saphira. You're in the 1-card combo line. You're just placing Barrier on the opponent's turn instead of Radiance on the opponent's turn. And if they have Droll, then you just played through it. You have the Omni, you have the Radiance pop, you have the Radiance. You don't have the Radiance summon, sorry, off of just these 2 cards through Droll. But you do, yeah, you have the pop plus the Omni negate and the targeting protection. And I think that's pretty good through the card that can hose a lot of hands otherwise. Now here is the combo I show in the deck profile. Low plus Saphira. This is the 2-card combo you're gonna see the most often, I'd say, because Low plus Barrier, for example, is just this but better, although you do play into Droll. So pretty standard stuff. So the reason why you tribute the Low from hand is because if you get Impermed or Veilered on the Low normal summon, it can't be used as the full tribute, and then your full combo turns into no combo off of that one misplay. So here, if they have Imperm, then this is their best chance to use it. If they Bestial, then you just search the Low from deck, normal summon it, and then your combo's going as normal. But no Bestial, you grab the Ceravis, so if they didn't Imperm here, they'd never, or not never, but they don't get a chance to on the Low. Low gets to place the Radiance, put that back from hand to keep the Prayer in Grave, and then you can either make IP or SP. With this line, this is your 4th summon, so you can make IP without playing into Nib. But if you, I guess a slightly different variation of the line, where this is your 5th summon, you go SP. Or, I don't know, maybe you just think that going SP straight up is safer. For example, you can't really use the IP tag out until after you Omni negate with how the board lines up, so sometimes you want SP to have the removal before your Omni. But here's if you make IP, then on the opponent's turn, this goes back, summon Skull Guardian from deck, Low, summon out, and effect to place Barrier. So yes, so through Super Poly, I think I showed this in the deck profile as well, but by chaining the Radiance to the Prayers, you get to put back a Skull Guardian, preferably the not properly summoned one, like I say here. Summon Low from deck, then CL1, Prayer summons the Skull Guardian. If they top deck Ash on Ceravis, then you are big sad. That is the big thing this board plays into. So that gets negated. The Radiance can trigger, put that back, summon a Low from deck. You get Barrier for follow-up, and then your only disruption is IP into SP. But the case of top deck Ash is a pretty big argument for going for the IP over the SP there. I think I also show one more thing, which is if they Bestial the Low on the opponent's turn, then once again the trap putting back the Skull Guardian into the Low plays around that. So you can see the Radiance really plays around a lot. If you place Barrier, then on the opponent's turn, Barrier is not doing anything to get you into Radiance, where vice versa is true. If you do Barrier on your turn, then you can Barrier, summon Low from deck, place the Barrier. Now that uses up the pop, but if your Barrier isn't getting you to Radiance, then you don't have the pop anyways. So yeah, this was the main line that I'd say I was going for in the tournament. Although I didn't draw Low plus Saphira exactly very often. I opened a lot of Diviners and stuff, and a lot of just a lot of hands where I was summoning 5 times. Hard to remember all them exactly, but so I was making SP over IP here a lot. I think but yeah, this is the main line that I'm going for. I really liked how it played around pretty much everything, and it's a really strong end board. Right, one thing I forgot to say at the beginning, the reason why I'm not showing how to play around Ash or Bell is that the way you play around Ash and Bell is to just have more engine in hand. It's really not any more complicated than that. I think that those are maybe the best hand traps into this deck because of how they don't give your opponent a lot of counterplay. And if you have Ash plus Bell, Ash or Bell plus one of the hand traps that they have counterplay for, they can't necessarily reach that counterplay. So then you have two high impact hand traps. So that's why I also, if your deck is not one that plays a lot of hand traps and you're trying to choose what to side for this, I choose Bell over Bestials every single time because the Bestials can be played around, the Bell really can't. Next up, here's Diviner plus Pre-Prep. Now this is like the full combo end board that I was going for. And this is like, this gets you access to so much engine, but 3 or 4 engine hands can get you to the same place. Let's see, anything else to note about this combo? I don't really think so. I'll just get into it. So, this does play into Impermer Veiler because you have to normal summon the Diviner, and if it gets interrupted here, then it can't be used as ritual fodder for this. But if you have like a Ceravis in hand, that solves the problem on multiple fronts. But this hand can play through Droll pretty well because Diviner sends Trios, tribute summon the Skull Guardian, go Diviner for Low, Low can place, and then Low can summon Ceravis from deck, go into your SB, and you're to the normal end board just without just without as much like follow-up and stuff as you might normally get, and no eye peaks yet. That's your 5th summon. But going back to the beginning, for no hand trap, or no Droll at least, let's go normal Diviner, effect. Now you go Diviner 1, Skull Guardian 2, because you really don't want Ash on that Diviner. Here you can grab the Saphira, place the Radiance, Saphira effect, and here, you're grabbing Pendulum Graph. The reason why I was on this is because I expected Branded to be popular enough to respect, and I did run into 2 Branded, and the Branded matchup for Voiceless is really, really bad without Pendulum Graph Dragon, because really your only interruption that is like really meaningful against them is the Skull Guardian Omni Negate, but this guy negates activations, which is great in general, but against Branded, if you negate the activation of Branded Fusion, they can activate another one, and they have a lot of ways to get to 2 Branded Fusion through no other meaningful disruptions. This guy negates effects, so now you can use this to negate the Branded Fusion. They can't go for another one, and you still have the Skull Guardian Omni, so that was why I played this. This could also be Ritual Ceravis, and you can summon that, like where I summon this, so you don't have to run this guy, but for a regional where I was expecting, lots of Snake Eye, but also some other rogue, I thought that Pendulum Graph Dragon in the main just covered some bad matchups, and it did come up. So anyways, you summon the Pendulum Graph, you still haven't done low grave effect, so you get to bring that out for the body. Then you put back, you have 2 engrave, 1 from the pre-prep, 1 from the Saphira, so you can put 1 back, summon Ceravis. And now here, yeah, lots of end board options. You have IP, you have SP, and I talk about here, if you had a spare ritual monster in hand, put back with Radiance instead of putting back the 2nd prayer from the graveyard, then if you go for IP, under this situation, the IP really plays into Nib super hard, so I go for the SP. But in the case where I have both ritual spells engraved still, I go for the IP just because, especially like game 2 or 3, they probably sided out the Nibs. And if they do Nib, you still end on a lot. So I believe I show... So first the SP, if they then Nib here, you go target SP and Ceravis, that gets tributed, then it left the field, so you get 2 prayers for the Skull Guardian, end phase, SP, Ceravis come back, you have Ceravis for Ceravis, and that triggers low engrave. And then Dragon Sage again, yep. So Then back to this position. If you have second prayer engrave, then like I was talking about with the IP line that still ends on a lot through the nib, they nib you, you Ceravis, bounce back to hand, bring out the Ceravis. This is just to get this guy back in hand. Your board gets tributed. You go prayer, summon the Skull Guardian from deck, and then you never summon this guy from hand. You summoned him with the Radiance effect. So now you have the 2 spells in grave to put back and summon. And then on the opponent's turn. So here's why I run the Pendulum Graph and the 2 Ceravis. So I was on 42 cards, so I was a bit less worried about drawing the Garnets, and then also having the rituals in hand improves your resilience through hand traps, like you saw with the various low lines, and Ceravis in particular insulates you against Imperm or Veiler, which, if you're forced to normal summon Low or Diviner to start your combo, can be really scary. So that's why I thought the full 5 ritual monsters of 2 Skull Guardian, 2 Ceravis, 1 Pendulum Graph was the play. Because if you're only on the 1 Ceravis here, then Dragon Sage has nothing to summon from deck on the opponent's turn. But with this position, running the 2 Ceravis, this can summon the second Ceravis from deck, trigger the low, get you to barrier, and now greeting for an insane end board, you still end on your Omni, Summon Negate, Protection, Pop 2. Against Branded, I would not go for the IP greed line because I really want to maintain this Pendulum Graph Dragon. So I'll go for the SP play instead. Or actually, I would just end on that end board because you keep the Skull Guardian negate and just play into nib even less. But against other decks where I want this, but it's not necessary, then the IP line is what I go for, if that makes sense. Now, next up, these 2 replays are not what I was doing at the tournament. These are showcasing why I was not impressed with the branded engine in testing. But I have not played this build of the deck nearly as much as other people, and there are other people who have topped larger events than I have with the branded engine. So I could just be missing something for sure. But I'm, from my testing, pretty convinced that the branded engine does not do anything in particular that the lines I was going for can do. For example, you saw how 2 card combos with just the Voiceless engine can play through Droll. So yeah, that's, and also yeah, I'll just get into it. So branded fusion, I personally visualize it as a really, really bad pre-prep, because what you get to off it is you have to discard a card for it, and what you get is a Mirror Jade, you get a Saphira Engrave, and you get Ritual Fodder. So pre-prep gets you to either Skull Guardian or Ritual Fodder, where branded fusion just gets you to Saphira plus only Ritual Fodder. So branded fusion is only a 2-card combo with Skull Guardian access specifically. If this was like a Ceravis, then this is not combo at all. Then you're ending on Mirror Jade plus Ceravis Ritual. And it also goes through your Saphira, and that gets really awkward in a second here. So I Saphira, tribute the Lobelion, summon Skull Guardian, effect, grab low, normal the low. You have to place the barrier because we're just talking about the 2-card combo. You have no ritual spell, you have no ritual monster, so you have to place the barrier, which I don't like. And then, what is your barrier searching? Like, if you grab Saphira and dump that, send the prayer, grab Ceravis, you can't do anything from here because you've already Saphira this turn. It's not like a pre-prep that gives you access to a second ritual summon. And you can't grab Dragon Sage because you only have Branded Fusion as a spell engrave. Like, it's a super, super bad pre-prep. And Mirror Jade is a non-targeting banish, which is really cool, for sure. But the follow-up is kind of awkward, and you don't have the SP option, which SP is a targeting banish, but SP also has some neat synergies with like Nibiru in hand, where you can SP banish your own monsters to guarantee follow up and then drop a Nib. You can't do that with Mirror Jade. And then another thing is you have no way to get the low engrave, and getting low engrave plus like the Dragon Sage on field gets you to your other spell trap without playing into the really bad Dynamondo line. And the Branded Engine completely locks you out of your extra deck options that give you your end board flexibility. So the Branded line like looks really powerful and high impact, but like it really feels like it was just stifling my options when I was trying to play the deck. How and so finally, let's talk about a better use case of the Branded Engine. It is just like engine like in that hand is pretty terrible in my opinion. But here's a neat thing to point out. So if you have to do, I forgot about needing a discard, so I grab Valor there. But if you barrier, grab Saphira, they droll. You can Branded Fusion, send Skull Guardian plus Albaz for not Libellion. Albion, effect, make the Libellion, effect, make the Mirror Jade, and then Saphira can grab from Grave, which normally just means that you lose to Ghost Spell, but with Branded Fusion, it does mean you get to grab the Skull Guardian back and Tribute. But you don't get a search off this because you're under Droll. You also don't get to put the low in Grave, and you don't get Ceravis, so you don't get access to Radiance. So compared to the other way that you could play around Droll, which is just low and a ritual monster spell, I'm really not impressed with this. So that's why I'm not a fan of the Branded Engine. It hurts your ability to get access to the trap. It hurts your extra deck plays with IPSP. It takes 5 extra deck slots, which like it isn't a huge deal, especially if you're not on Super Poly. But Branded Engine plus Super Poly is like 9 extra deck slots, because I don't like Super Poly this format without the weird targets like Panzer Dragon and the Earth Golem Ignister, and 9 extra deck slots is a lot. Because it's not public, shoot, but I like my extra deck. You can see it in the deck profile. Not all of it came up, but a lot of it did. A lot of it just simplifies a lot of like turn 3 plays and stuff like that. And I don't want to give up 9 cards from it. So yeah, let's see. I think that is everything. So hopefully this was helpful. Gosh, this video is really going on long, but I've a lot to say about this deck apparently. So yeah, hope that helped, and bye.